crisis worse. Talking about Venezuela once again. Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 called monetary awareness. All right, we are live for a Thursday RTD News update. Excited to connect and looking forward to sharing with you some headlines that caught my attention. And of course, it's not about the distractions and all the things that's going on here. Got one little article talking about the student loan debt forgiveness. That's just one of many other distractions and diversion tactics, all designed to get the current political structure through this midterm election. But ultimately speaking, it's much bigger than that. And I want to focus more so on what's happening out east in reference to the continual strengthening of the Chinese and Russian relations, on top of China setting records on gold accumulation and the de-dollarization process unfolding in real time. So I think ultimately speaking, for those that are part of this community here, keeping your eyes on the bigger picture in relations to your financial futures denominated in these units here are something you definitely want to always stay plugged in on, and let all the local distractions, they'll filter themselves out. But anyway, won't be long. Just want to jump in. I have maybe 5 or 6 headlines, highlight a couple of things worth bringing to your attention. And as always, if you want to dive in further, you can just Google any of those articles and plug in more for yourself. But before I move forward, any new members to the community, welcome. My name is Mike, the host. If you have not already, make sure you guys click that bell notification. Hopefully you are notified when we go live, as well as if you're coming across this for the first time and you're interested in finding out more about the Federal Reserve System and how it's coming to an end, definitely become a subscriber and you'll be plugged in. And make sure you guys connect with RTD on all these alternative platforms. The link is in the description. All right. That won't be long. Just want to jump in, share my 2 cents real quick. And as always, feel free to add comments or thoughts in the chat in relation to other events. But once again, this is just one angle, and there's maybe 99 different stories that we can touch on, all related to the financial system and the current shift. And of course, Jackson Hole, everybody's waiting on Federal Jerome Powell to say something, as if like anything he says is going to either prolong or change the current trajectory we're on. It's like watching a train move forward on a railroad track. Whether or not they increase the speed or decrease the speed, ultimately speaking, doesn't matter, because at the end of the road, the train tracks are not there. So something will unfortunately happen. But that's kind of how I look at the whole Jackson Hole central bank, jargon these days. Anyway, let's jump right in. Let me, before I move forward, how you doing? Wonderful Friday morning from New Zealand. How you doing, my man? That's right. It is the next day in your neck of the woods. All right. So appreciate you, man. Let us know what's happening in your neck of the woods. Before I move forward, let me do a little maintenance on my side. I want to make sure I, welcome and communicate and share details to the channel. So once again, link in the description. If you guys are interested, want to make sure you're aware of the opportunity while time is still prevalent to get your weight up. And so the Silver Starter Kit is available for those in the United States. One per household. It's fairly cheap, as well as a great opportunity to diversify your stack if you're interested. I'm excited to have partnered with them, and hopefully you guys are taking advantage of this opportunity. So definitely do that if you haven't already, or whatever else floats your boat, feel free to do that. Just want to provide options for the community. And also rtd.locals.com, connect there so you'll stay plugged in. Whenever things move forward beyond this channel here, we'll definitely connect there and also share stuff there. And if you're a content creator, definitely connect there and share your work as well. And let's keep it moving. So if you guys want to contribute and support the channel, feel free. Any donation is definitely helpful. It'll go towards helping me try to get some help on my end. And of course, all the links beneath this are just relevant to the rethinkingthedollar.com, where you can stay plugged in. You can test your IQ. It appears that I completely wiped the scoreboard, so I'm starting afresh. So far, the scores are about 80%. So more people who are monetarily savvy are plugging into this information, which is great. So that's always a good thing. And of course, we got crisis reports and all the. So this video here is going to fall into this de-dollarization category. So it'll be another one out of the 75 or so that I've been talking about over the years. So let's jump right in. I know the primary story everybody's focused on happens to be President Biden. So every commentator is talking about it. And I thought this article here from Mish Talk has a very unique perspective on it, just because we can all express our opinions and displeasure and trying to wipe the debt clean, basically alleviating the debt for a small few, trying to buy votes while also adding more of a tax burden in the future. Because once again, somebody's asset is another person's liability and vice versa. So somebody's going to be footing the tab. But the numbers been floating around is about 300 billion. And so one thing that jumped out here is that he's putting together some figures here, and it's closer to 705 billion if you look at all the current numbers. And I'll just run through the numbers real quick. But once again, it just talks about this whole process being unconstitutional. But at this current moment, when the monetary structure is colliding, fiscal and monetary, and the system is being rebooted, I don't think, apart from there being some brave souls on the other side of the aisle, I don't think they're going to get much pushback, because more of the politicians are concerned with their positions and their jobs moving forward than they are really about fighting things and trying to just go through the political sphere as to, whether it's unconstitutional or not. So more than likely, it'll take effect, and it'll just be more dollars in the coffin, which leads to what I'm going to talk about in a moment. But real quick, I'll jump in this. Lots of details here, but just want to jump on the total cost here. And so the Penn Wharton budget model estimates that canceling 10,000 for borrowers earning up to 125 will cost about 300 billion. The Pell Grant edition could increase this by as much as 270 billion. The 4-month freeze on payments will cost 20 billion. Of course, once again, this kicks in. The freeze ends in January as of now. So we'll find out what comes after that. It says on top of that, roughly 115 billion. It already is impacted. So over the last how many ever months, or 2 years or so, I think as of now, of this, the freezing of the payments for the loans is equated to 115. So the total is 300, 270, 135, and how much ever left to come. As of now, we got a total of 705 billion. And once again, even Pelosi talked about months ago, it's not possible for Biden to forgive the debt. But now, when he's doing it for this political season, it's all fine and good. But anyway, that's just a reason why the rest of the world has to make they have to make moves a lot faster right now, because as I've always said, the U.S. is literally trying to get as much bang for the buck as they can, while there's still somebody on the other end willing and wanting to accept those things. And based upon what's happening with China and Russia, things are speeding up mighty fast. So let me just go through some headlines real quick and share my 2 cents. And I highlighted all types of stuff here just to hopefully this goes smoother. But here's an interesting headline here that I couldn't not help but talk about, because the whole rethinking the dollar is about preparing ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually for the day that the Federal Reserve note, which has allowed us as U.S. citizens to enjoy this exorbitant privilege of being able to live a fantastic lifestyle, finance and everything on the drop of a dime. As this shifts, let's talk about how this comes into fruition. And it's my personal opinion, everything is already worked out. They're just waiting on more pain in the western side before it'll be brought out, because also the East is not doing too good as well, but they got enough gold to back that up. And I want to talk about that. But China, Russia, currency alliance shows the way to de-dollarization. Says growing yuan ruble trade, a prototype arrangement that could be replicated on a larger scale with more vital economies. So once again, the two counter economies that the world is up against happen to be Russia and China, and they have been working towards this for several years now. And when you see headlines, and all these headlines here deal with Western viewpoint on what's happening out east, and just because we're getting it all, this is all relatively old, stagnant, stale news. But then again, it's timely because it gives us more time before that event unfolds or is officially announced. And that event I'm referring to is the possible announcement of a gold-backed stable coin that utilized by the BRICS in some capacity. So anyway, real quick, just talk about financial alliance. It says the pact to reduce their economy's dependence on the dollar seemed more aspirational a couple years ago, more rhetorical than tangible up until now. This has to do with the Citigroup basically announcing and making known that the yuan has surpassed the dollar in trade on the Moscow exchange, which is the biggest financial entity within Moscow, that everything flows in and out when you do business with Russia. And so just real quick, it says the yuan trading at the Moscow exchange has surged more than 40-fold just this year. It says the yuan dealing has now started to dominate trading in more traditional currencies. This is happening against the backdrop of fast declining trading in the US dollar. Fast declining trading between these two nations, and everyone who does business with them will have to eventually utilize the yuan or the Russian ruble or that third currency, which will be announced. And on to another headline here. This is from earlier this week, but I didn't really talk about it in depth. But the Moscow Exchange says it will stop accepting U.S. dollars as collateral on this upcoming Monday. And what was funny is that how even the Western media talks about in toxic currencies, toxic, basically saying the Federal Reserve note, the euro, all those unfriendly countries are toxic currencies. And so here it just talks more about how trade between the yuan is increased and how Russia has deliberately knocked down and trimmed down the trade in dollars to the point where now there's like, hey, since the yuan has surpassed, on top of the fact we no longer want to be anything, will have anything to do with the dollar as well as the euro, we're going to just eliminate it as of Monday. So this upcoming Monday, no more dollars will be exchanged on the Moscow Exchange. But then again, earlier this month, it says here, the Central Bank of Russia said it's looking to add the Chinese yuan, Indian rupee, and the Turkish lira to its wealth funds. So a couple months ago, we talked about the Russian Central Bank basically giving permission for the Russian pension funds as well as wealth funds to get rid of all dollar-denominated assets or liabilities, however you want to look at it. And so they literally dropped all their treasuries and everything of that nature out of their wealth funds and added gold. And now they're looking to add a couple additional currencies inside of that. So this is just more of that de-dollarization process in real time. Because ultimately, when we look back in history books, I believe the de-dollarization process will be viewed as the small steps taken by China and Russia. Russia was a catalyst for China because China has already been, I think, predetermined, even by our own leadership, to ultimately take over the reins of this global structure that's, in the future. Just because we have been sending them IOUs, they've been sending us real stuff, and that was bound to change at some point. And I think the deciding factor will be the announcement of whatever new monetary standard. Of course, gold will be related to it as well. Let's keep it moving. Let me see here. A couple more headlines here, are relatively new, but yet, of course, from the West. And this is here is more out east. But it says here, China's record gold buying and Russia's de-dollarization means death. That's a strong word there of the U.S. economy as we know it. Long story short here, this plays into not only have they been removing Federal Reserve and U.S. liabilities out of their coffers, but China has been accumulating records amount of gold in a short amount of time. In particular, this year, and this right here focuses on last 2 months out of Switzerland. And so it says China has surreptitiously imported gold from Switzerland at a record rate. The Swiss gold export to China is in June rose to its highest since December 2016. And so it says mainland China has been supplied 80.1 tons of gold worth 4.4 billion in Swiss francs. And it says, so in the last 2 months, China has imported 112.6 tons of gold. And so what does that have to do? By them importing all that gold, they're either selling off the remainder or utilizing whatever Federal Reserve, U.S., reserves they have to actually get this gold. And so they have basically, in a de facto way, made gold of an essential point for their future. And it refers to how Vladimir Putin has already started that earlier this year with the whole Ukraine jump off by allowing the gold to be mentioned and pegged and stuff like that. So just more information there. But then it also talks about why is all this happening? This goes back to earlier this summer when basically out of Russia, the words floated out that there will be a gold-backed stablecoin which can help Russia circumvent sanctions. And so it says the U.S. wouldn't be able to touch a crypto golden ruble, according to one of the biggest banks in Russia. So it's good to say when stuff like that is mentioned from a private sector bank that's working in collaboration with their central bank, they wouldn't be making statements like that unless that was the buzz circulating within the country or the plan that was already on the table, and they themselves, as a private company, are preparing for the initial rollout of some type of crypto golden ruble type of ordeal. So just once again, this is what's happening and it's already done. And then it goes into more of the China and Russia trade. And so they've been working together heavily. The numbers have increased as far as the amount of, currency swaps and all the bilateral trade agreements. But it says current China-Russia trade maintains momentum of growth to seek improvement of both quality and quantity. So this is, once again, this is from an Eastern source, the Global Times. And so this just gives more insight as to some of the things they're looking to work on. And it says foster new growth engines such as digital economy, green development, biomedicine, and seek the improvement of both quality and quantity in bilateral trade agreements. And as of, it said, well, let me find some here. As of this past June, it says the first China-Russian highway bridge opened for traffic in June. So the ability to cross easier is a part of the plan as well. And then this is something I think we will definitely hear more about. And this is prolonged into next year. So Putin orders Russian military to increase his forces as Ukraine war passes the 6-month mark. So this has to do with him signing a new executive order type of situation, which increases the army. It says, let me see here. It says, Putin's decree will increase the number of combat personnel in Russian armed forces by 10% to 1.15 million. So he's expanding the army base. And it says a copy of the order on a Russian government website says it comes into effect next year, January 1st, 2023. So what this tells me is that what's happening right now will be a long and drawn out event. And that's just on one side of the equation, while also these nations are working towards rolling out, implementing that next monetary system. And this is just between China and Russia. And as we witness all the interconnection of their central banks with the digital payment systems and all that stuff all in one, I've been talking about that for quite some time now. It's good to say that everything is connected and ready to be done. It's just more so when. So we wait. But it looks like this military conflict will continue on because they're basically getting the manpower to make sure it happens while they work out all the kinks to what's coming next. But what does this have to do with you and I today? It just proves even more that the window of time that we all have to enjoy the opportunity of using these instruments, it's eventually coming to an end, because when the Federal Reserve note is officially rejected, it will show in every real world item we use. In particular, it will show in commodities, i.e. oil. And also there's an article today talking about Saudi Arabia looking to dial back and reduce the amount of oil. Therefore, we don't make any oil no more. We're dependent upon the world. So what does that mean? Oil prices will have to go up if they minimize the supply. All the raw materials, all the rare earth metals, all the goods and services that we enjoy now come from that side of the world. If they're not necessarily willing to accept dollar payments any longer, the U.S. is going to have to do something. Therefore, they're going to have to pony up another method of payment, or more than likely, they'll probably go to war. But in the meantime, that means the goods and services we had today will become more expensive, ultimately reflecting the fact that the purchasing power of this unit is not holding its own. Therefore, it's going to be a lot tougher and tighter in the future. So this is not to, increase fear, incite fear, but the real world items you need now, they're not going to get any cheaper. So make preparations for making sure you have in your own reserves enough of the things that you can use now and as much as you can afford for the possible future. Nobody knows how this is all going to play out, but we know it's not going to be a quick and smooth transition. On top of more and more articles talking about the current food situation. I wasn't going to share this, but it says people facing acute food insecurity reached 345 million worldwide. That's intentional. So take of it what you may, but these are some real world events. And I think ultimately speaking, looking back in history books, we're going to talk about the currency and the things happen with the transition into some new form of currency more than anything else, as far as all these temporary distractions thrown our way, such as, the debt forgiveness and things of that nature. Like, that's important. But like I said before, they're going to get every bit of purchasing power they can out of this current system before it's no longer accepted. So anyway, I just want to check in for a quick minute, sweet and simple. Hopefully some information was delivered of value. And so if you got China accumulating gold, an all-time record within a 2-month time frame, that gold will be served for something. It will be used to anchor down something. We can learn a lot from what they're doing. Anyway, be blessed, be safe. And we'll try to get back tonight for a live stream. If you're new, definitely hit that thumbs up button. Share your comments and thoughts in the article. Also, connect on the Telegram page. Share thoughts, ideas there, so people can stay plugged in. And of course, this is just one particular subject out of 1,000. So I'm sure everybody here has their own focus as well as expertise in certain fields. We need to know. We need to hear from you. Connect on the Telegram. Share what you keep an eye on so we can stay plugged in as well. Anyway, be blessed. Be safe. See you guys later. Peace.
The next recession.
Recession will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months.
A crash is coming now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
If you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.